I'm Cody O'Reilly with JoinTeamHunt, sharing real stories from the West, insights from the hunt, and new ways to connect with fellow outdoor enthusiasts. Be part of the action. Subscribe to JoinTeamHunt, rate this episode, and tell a buddy, because you're not getting any younger, and those mountains aren't getting any easier. All right, guys, here we go. Number 2 podcast for JoinTeamHunt. We got Colton Herman on. The reason why we have Colton Herman on is he has participated in, how many hunts have we done together, Colton? 6, 10? I don't even know, but
a lot.
Probably in the double figures.
It's probably up towards 50, 60 at this point. Yep.
So we've done a lot of hunting together. Figured he'd be a good one to bring onto the show here. A few things about Colton. He loves the outdoors, primarily fishing. He does like coming out to do some hunting with the family, especially out on our grandpa's farm and with his brothers and family. We will turn it over to Colton a little bit, let him tell us about him, and we'll get into some hunts and what we want to discuss today. So here you go, Colton.
Yeah, I'd say it's a little different for us just growing up because we didn't really, like our parents weren't into hunting. So it was kind of you and I that started off from ground zero, getting that stuff done between buying all the gear, all the equipment. It was a lot at first for both of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was Black Friday, we went down to Dick's Sporting Goods and picked up our first Remington 870 shotguns at like 4 in the morning in your old Grand Prix that was falling apart. The window was frosted over. I think you had your window down. You're sticking your head out driving there. But we got there at about 4:30. After that, it was a lot of public land hunting around Minnesota mainly. So a lot of slug stuff. I know we still have that same shotgun now that we share for a slug gun. And then it was youth hunts out in Pierce, South Dakota, and that was on Grandpa's land or Uncle Shane taking us different places, stuff like that. So it just kind of depends. I remember because I was able to get the youth tags that we always hunted with, and if you were able to get a tag, you'd join us out there, and that's kind of where my, passion started for the Western South Dakota hunting, was seeing those hills along the river down there and chasing the big mule deers. I remember it was probably, 2012 when we shot those 2 mule deer does side by side, and you shot probably 3 rounds plus another 10 and missed all of them.
Yeah, that's for sure. You were a little farther away and you dropped it in your first shot. It took me quite a bit.
Yeah, I remember Shane just laughing at us. But yeah, that's where it started. The first deer I shot would have been on Grandpa's farm. I remember that was, there must have been a couple minutes left of shooting light, if that, because we were walking back to the truck with Uncle Derek, and there was a little button buck sitting on top of the thing. I didn't realize that at the time, and shot him when we get up there. And then I remember Derek was giving me a hard time because I shot his Fuster Boone and Crockett buck. But that would have been the first time.
Yeah.
And after that, it was just, we just kind of kept going with it. Like I said, that's kind of where my mule deer passion started, just watching them hop around, seeing the terrain that they hunted, and it's really kind of what got me even to this day. I love hunting mule deer more than whitetail personally. Mm-hmm. It's just the big racks, you get a nice 4x4, you get a variety of antler colors. It's just a whole different ball game. So that's kind of where that started. And I would say it probably was the first one that we went to, it had been 2016, 17, when I drew the buck tag in Area 58, which is a hard sought unit to get into in South Dakota. And that was cool because we're hunting along the river. And I remember we were debating on taking I had an old Lund Pro V fishing boat at the time out there, but then Derek Uncle, he talked us out of it because he's like, it gets pretty nasty in the Wahi Dam. And it turned out to be beautiful weather the whole entire time. I think it was 71 degrees, no wind, and we ended up hiking way back in there. It's 2-3 miles at least, and just up and down rolling hills, all the Missouri River Valley is. And, I think we're coming back maybe at 2 or 3 p.m. We glassed them down by the valley. They're walking in a trail going down to the river bottom. Mm-hmm. And then on the way back, all of a sudden, I don't know if it was you or I, but we turned around, and there was probably a group of a dozen.
Yeah.
3 or 4 nice mature bucks in that group, and saw the one that I shot, which was a nice 4x5. He had a small crab claw, but it was an old buck, I remember, because his neck was swollen. Yeah, so that was a nice time. And the funny thing about that is, we didn't really think about quartering deer at that point, because growing up in Minnesota, we could never do that. Mm-hmm. And then it was just, we went back, I remember, we walked back to the truck, which is 2 or 3 miles away, and then I grabbed that cart, and then we walked back again. And it was just horrible. I remember we probably got a half mile away from the truck, and that's when Derek came out there, and it's like, why didn't you guys just quarter this thing up? So that was kind of the epiphany that time. It was a good learning lesson. But it was a fun hunt.
That's for sure. I mean, we didn't know a whole lot about Western hunting at the time. It was kind of first couple hunts going out hunting mule deer.
Yeah.
Didn't know how to quarter a deer up. We had a cart, so we're like, the heck with it. We're going to take this deer 3 miles out on a cart. We actually did. We got it all the way out.
We did.
It took how many? I think there were 6 of us out there, and we took turns 2 at a time, bringing that deer out on that cart, and it was nuts.
It was a workout. 75-degree weather too. It was hot.
Yeah, that sun came up and really started baking us a little bit.
No, yeah, we got it, and that was kind of the cool thing is that talking to other friends that I knew that hunted, like all of our hunting was DIY. It was all public land. We're all kind of figuring out. I mean, that was probably before Onyx was even around, I would say, or maybe the very early stages. But I don't think you were using it much at that point.
I was using it just a little bit. It didn't have all the features it has today, but just enough to know where our boundaries were.
Yeah.
And I think you and I were actually shocked a little bit with like how many animals we were actually getting into.
Yep.
Versus, like, we always thought, okay, we need to hunt private land. Got to hunt Grandpa's farm. We know there's a ton of deer out there. There's some big ones. Well, we got out to this public land, and we're like, oh, wow, there's animals out here. And there's
deer everywhere.
Yeah, there's some decent ones, too. Like, wow.
Yep, I remember we were driving back from one of those nights, I think we were with Uncle Shane, and there was it was a whitetail, I remember, but it was just on the edge of private land, so we didn't go out there and hoping it'd cross. But yeah, it was just nuts. And even when, I started taking buddies out west, they just can't believe how much deer there is out there. And I'm like, it's normal to see 20 or 30 deer in a day.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Out west in the public land is cool because if you're willing to put in the boot work, you're going to find them.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like whitetail hunting in Minnesota where you kind of just sit in a tree stand and hope they're going to show up, and you might sit out there all day and not see anything. Where out in the public land out west, it's just if you keep walking, you're going to find them, which is nice, especially once you do the e-scouting and put all that work into it too.
Do you remember when we would hunt Grandpa's farm and we would get up on the grain bins?
Yeah.
And you could see everything.
Yep.
That's where I first learned you got to find a good glassing knob from those grain bins, because when we were up there, you could literally see the whole area around you, and you picked up those deer like it was easy pickings. Yeah.
And that was a big thing of, you're scanning one area, then you need to go back through it a couple times. Because I can't tell how many times, even with you, that I don't see deer that you see. And it happens all the time. It's just, you see an area, you keep focusing and you keep filtering and just finding a good knob, whether it's looking down a funnel or looking at a food source, just seeing that sort of thing and just sitting there and waiting. I mean, it's like our mom always said, hunt the corn, hunt the water, which is the truest statement I think we've learned over these years. You can do some crazy stuff or you just go over there and know they're going to have to go.
Yeah. Stick to the basics and get on a knob and use your glass to really pick out those animals. I mean, that's what, you and I can attest to, though, just keeping it basic and really sticking into it and getting some glass on it and
getting away from the crowds too. That's another big part of it too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Find some harder. You're great at finding those harder to get to areas, that most people won't. And, that's where the e-scouting comes in huge, just knowing how, where you can't go, whether or not making sure you're not trespassing, all that stuff. It's just finding that stuff out ahead of time to know that you can get back there. And a lot of people, they aren't willing to put in the boot work like it comes down to. If you're willing to work, you're going to find them.
Yeah, that's for sure. Jumping down. So we kind of talked about our mule deer hunts, but so we were big whitetail hunters growing up in Minnesota, and then we kind of transferred over to mule deer hunting. That kind of really picked up, and we're like, oh my gosh, we got to go mule deer hunting every single year. And then the elk hunting started right after that. It took us some time to get into it. We didn't really know what the heck we were doing. We'd never really been out to the mountains. We had to really YouTube every single video that we could to really figure out, okay, how do we survive out here? And how do we find animals? So I remember the first elk trip that we went on, we were all excited to go on this elk hunt. We've never been, it was you, myself, and another buddy of ours. And we started driving and we got to, I think it was Sheridan, Wyoming. And we couldn't go any further. We hit a blizzard and we literally got I think it was 12, 14 inches of snow.
Yeah.
And
not to mention too, that was the onslaught of COVID too. So COVID just started 3 months, or no, I guess we would have went hunting that fall, and COVID probably came around 6 months prior. And I remember on the way out there, all of a sudden we're about 6 hours in this road trip, and you go, guys, I can't taste or smell right now.
That was at the hotel.
Yeah. So we're kind of sitting there like, all right, well, we know what's coming now. The timing wise, because I think it was a 14-day quarantine and all that stuff. And, it worked out really nice because we're going to be together for 14 days.
Right.
But we kind of knew what was coming. And yeah, then that blizzard down in Sheridan. So I remember we hunkered in at the hotel right there. Yeah, that was an interesting hunt. First couple of days glassing are pretty nice. But then all of a sudden that opening day, because I remember we checked out some public land the day before. And it looked promising. I think we saw a couple bulls. They're further away.
Right.
The temperature was cold, but it wasn't horrible. And then that next morning, we got up, and I remember I went to the public land, and it wasn't too far. It was maybe a mile in there. It wasn't too far, but it was, negative 10 degrees without the wind chill that day.
That temperature just dropped. And then the wind picked up too.
Horrible.
Yeah. I had to I felt like crap. Like I had to find a spot to where I couldn't hike very far. So I had to find a close spot from the road to where I could just bomb off and do some hunting and glassing and see if something were to come my way. And when I was sitting there, that temperature was colder than the dickens when we first got out there. And then that wind came up. I had to find a tree. Otherwise, I wasn't lasting very long out there. And yeah, I was able to crawl under a tree and kind of hunker down for the day. And then I was getting some, I don't remember if we were texting back and forth, but somehow we knew that you shot a bull or something along those lines. I know I didn't have the best service, but we were able to text, or I don't know if we had satellite phones at the time, but we were in contact with one another. And I heard Colton got a bull, and I was ecstatic. And you guys were like, you want to keep hunting, or are you going to come help us out?
Yeah, and that was crazy because it was opening day, and I remember there was probably a dozen guys on horseback, a private land, and they were just dropping elk left and right. It was insane to watch, and we didn't think they'd come up there. So the guy that we were hunting with, we were like, you know what, let's go up high, because we could tell these elk were moving up high again after getting the pressure.
Yeah.
So we went further up, probably another half a mile, and we sat on some boulders, actually, just sitting there waiting to see if anything came up. And all of a sudden, probably 200 elk came up through there. And it was nuts. It was just a train of them. And it was crazy because I think I had a 270 at the time. The guy that we're hunting, I think he had a 7mm, something like that. But so we're sitting there, and I'm like, all right, well, if we get a shot, let's take a shot at both of them. We both had, bull elk tags to fill. And I remember something was debated. We couldn't tell which one he was looking at, and I thought he was looking at a different buck than he thought I was, and I thought there was another a cow behind that one. So I'm like, oh, we can't shoot, but it turns out there wasn't. I was in the wrong there. But I ended up shooting. I think it was a small 3x4, but it was a good one for my first bull, and I was pretty proud of it. It was like a 430-yard shot, the 270, so I was pretty pumped about that. And
heck yeah, man, that's some distance.
Yeah, I dropped it right away, and then we got up there, and that's when it hit me. I'm like, holy cow, these things are big.
Yeah, you don't realize how big they are, especially from us, coming from Midwest Minnesota, used to hunting whitetails. Then we go to mule deers, and now we got a big elk on the ground. What do we do?
Yep, and it was a process. I remember it was probably 2 or 3 hours, and this is one of those moments where we didn't know what we were doing, and I can attest to this because I remember the guy that we were with, we both tried to pack out about 120 pounds on each one of our backs downhill, and it was the worst thing of my life.
Yeah.
And it was just way too much. We had bad packs, just not good equipment, and then the next day I ended up testing positive for COVID. And I was out for about a week and a half because you guys were still hunting, and I could not leave the cabin. It was miserable, but I was happy because I got my take filled.
Right. Yeah, I knew I had COVID. I never got tested or anything, but I just had all the symptoms. But it was weird. Like when we were sitting in the cabin, we felt like twice as bad as when you're out there hiking. Yeah. And that's what kind of kept me going, is just to get out, take my time, just keep going a little bit at a time. And I actually felt way better. Like I didn't even have COVID at the time. But whenever we were in that cabin, just sitting, laying low, watching YouTube videos or whatever, that's when it was like, oh my gosh, I feel like crap.
Well, it's crazy. Look at the pictures. And gosh, I bet we lost 15, 20 pounds out there that year.
Yeah.
Because I was like 175 when we came back. It was skinny, skinny, skinny.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But looking back, it was a cool story. It was the same time that Luke Combs released his double-sided album, too. So it was some good music to listen to the whole time.
Yeah, we definitely had the tunes blaring, and hiking up and down those mountains, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then, you know, over the years, you got it more figured out and buttoned down because you probably went between now and then, 20, 30 different elk hunts since then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I really started to dial it in. And there were some times where we would hunt together out in Montana, and you're like, what the heck are you doing? Where are you taking me? Like you wanted to turn around and go back or punch me in the face, one of the two.
Yeah, I'm definitely the lazier hunter out of those two. And sometimes you just try to go in these wild spots. So I'm like, I don't know how we're going to get up here. We're going to get up here and not see anything, which happened 90% of the time.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You know, when we found that happy medium finally, then, yeah, it was probably, 5-6 years after that when you shot your unicorn bull.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that was a funny one, too, because, you know, it'd been, a year since you shot anything? 2 years? You had a couple dry years.
Yeah, there was 1 year where I wasn't able to shoot an elk or a whitetail or even a mule deer. We had some great success. I missed a nice 320, 330 bull. It was a monster bull for me. And I was out there archery hunting. He came through after like 8 cows. He had to turn his head to get through the trees. And as he turned his head, he let out a bugle at like 45 yards. My heart was beating through my chest. I drew back and just let her rip, and I completely shanked it.
Just rushed the shot a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I replay it to this day over and over and over again.
Well, speaking of that, yeah, I remember the year we went out archery in West River, South Dakota. It was the same thing where I gut shot that one and we couldn't find it either. And that was a nice 4x4, 4x5 buck at the time. And yeah, he came up on that ridge side at 60 yards and all we could find was hair. And then, gosh, that was the first time I ever not found something that I've shot at. And that was a very humbling feeling, to say the least.
Yeah. And from my viewpoint, I had a good, I could see the whole play-by-play basically. And the shot looked very good. It sounded good. We get up there and we're just seeing specks of blood in this short grass. Like, it's very hard to find anything for blood.
It was horrible.
And we spent, I don't know, it was probably half a day and just backtracking, going zigzag. I mean, but we couldn't turn anything up.
No.
And
then the next day it snowed, I think, or the day after that, of course.
Yeah.
You know, after that it would have been nice to find, but yeah, that was definitely one of the tougher times that we went. But on archery, I still haven't shot one with my bow yet. So hopefully this year will be the ticket. But yeah, it's a lot tougher. You know, it's like when I took took my buddy out there, and I told him it was the same ridge actually where I shot and we couldn't find mine. And I said, all right, they come right over this ridge, you know, let's get ready to go. And we get out there a little late. We go straight to that spot where me and you sat by the tree. And a nice 4x4 comes up the same trail that mine came up. And he shoots, and all of a sudden his arrow, it was weird. It made a weird thunk, and I'm like, that didn't sound right. And his arrow was flying like sideways out. You know, so then I look at him like, what's going on here? And he's like, yeah, you know, I forgot to tell you, I dropped the bow a couple weeks ago, and I think that I about blew up. God, I was so mad. You know, I'm like, we're spending thousands of dollars here. I'm like, we're going to Rapid City Shields right now, and you're getting a new bow.
Yeah, that's for sure. You don't want to mess around out there. You shouldn't even be out there.
Correct.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was a good learning lesson for him, too. And I think it kind of, because I told him, I'm like, you know, you got to be prepared to make 50, 60, 70-yard shots. And I think he kind of believed me, but he was kind of like, I don't know if this is really true. And then once he got out there, it hit him. I'm like, just getting opportunities to shoot a mule deer out west with an archery tag is a blessing in itself.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, it's tough, and there's not a lot of cover. And the spot that we go to up until this, you know, last couple of years, it was pretty good. When I went out there for rifle 2 years ago, it was a little bit slimmer. I think it was a little overhunted, but still might hold some big ones, hopefully, in a couple of years.
Yeah, I think the big ones are kind of back further or found some another food source or something. But yeah, we had a prime location. There's some food source, and then you had your rolling, tough terrain where the mule deers just love, and they just come out and.
Oh, so many natural draws too, and they would just come up to the food source, you know, and it's hunted hard around on the private side, but on the public side, you know, there's some good sections where they would be. It's just we would get out there every morning, and it'd be, you know, a couple 3x3s, you know, some 4x4s, but nothing really massive. And at that time, 2 years ago, I had a rifle tag, and I was looking for a nice 4x4, hopefully if not bigger. Because, you know, years before we saw some 210, 220 class just monsters.
Oh, yeah.
you know, and that was obviously 5 years prior, but there were some big mule deer bucks out there. And yeah, but that year it was crazy because we hunted 4 days and I just got back from a knee surgery. And it was, you know, it's not hard terrain out there. It's only a 1.5 mile walk. It's pretty easy rolling, but it's a walk. And that time it was, you know, it was crazy because every single day we ended up seeing this same whitetail buck. And he was probably, I think he's 11 pointers on the wall right now. But it was insane because the 2 guys I was going with out there, they're helping me and they didn't have tags, just coming along for the ride. And every single day he'd be like, Colton, let's, you know, take a poke at that one. I'm like, no, I want a nice mule deer buck. Like that was what I came out here for. That's what I wanted. And day 3 ends up coming around. It might have been day 4 morning actually. And interesting enough, the day before, I thought this other group of public land hunters shot this buck, the whitetail. And, you know, that's the interesting spot about that area, too, because you'll get some nice whitetail bucks and some nice mule deer.
Right.
And you never really know what's going to come out. And so that next morning, I told the guys, I'm like, all right, if he's in the same area again, if he's still around, if they didn't hit him, I will take a poke at him. And, you know, well, you know, I'm over here complaining about it at the time, but, you know, pretty blessed just even getting that. Yeah. And it was crazy because he was in private land. And he was chasing some does probably 300 yards away. And he was looking right at us. And I, you know, Peyton's like, that's a nice buck. I'm like, that is a nice buck. You're right.
Yeah.
You know, so here I am. And he's running right here. We got a spot where he's gone over every day. And it'd be about a 50-yard shot. I had a nice 300 Win Mag. I'm like, this will be easy. All of a sudden, he just bolts full speed down the other way and just right at us. So I was like, oh, God. So then we kind of backed up a little bit. And then he started running south, and he wasn't slowing down. I'm like, oh, like, what is going on right now? And we don't know what spooked him, what was going on. So he ended up jumping the fence line. I had to wait till he got onto public land. And he jumped the fence line probably, I think it was like 180 yards down the fence line. And I basically just let my reticle sit there on public land. So as soon as he landed there, I was good to shoot. But it was a full speed shot. And, you know, I'm like, oh, great. And I let the first one ring, and I couldn't even see. My 2 buddies, they were laying down because, there's a 300 Win Mag right next to their ear, so they were just out of it.
Right.
And then I saw him. I'm like, it didn't look like he really got hit. So then I let off another one, and I honestly didn't think I hit him. And it's, you know, I'm kind of down on my luck. I'm like, guys, I think I missed. And, you know, you can attest this. And Peyton's like, I don't think I've ever seen you miss what they're saying. You're like, go check that. Like, you're pretty good with a rifle. And I'm like, I know this rifle's dialed in. So, you know, I walk down there. I'm not seeing any blood. And I'm like, guys, I missed this buck. Like, This is the first for me. And I'm just sitting there kind of bummed. And, you know, Peyton's like, go walk down to the draw. Because we saw him go over there. So I walked down there. And all of a sudden, I got a hint of just that venison blood smell. It's like, if you've been hunting, you know that smell.
That wild mule deer kind of stench.
And it's like, I knew it right. I'm like, that's blood. Like, I could smell it. I'm like, all right, something's bleeding. And then I look across the draw, and it was interesting because the doe that he was chasing was sitting there on the other side of the draw looking down into the draw. And I'm like, why isn't she out of here? So I'm like, this is weird. So then all of a sudden I walk down there, and sure as can be 20 feet down there, he's dead in the draw.
Right.
You know, and the 300 Win Mag, I hit him kind of right in the middle, and it just destroyed everything from the rear hindquarters back, unfortunately. You know, but it ended up working out okay. So that was, it was a nice whitetail buck.
That whitetail was awesome. What did it score at? Like 150?
Yeah, like 153, I think, right around there. So, like, I was happy with it. You know, it was a good hunt, and the weather was perfect out there. So that was a good time.
That's for sure. Do you remember when, so we had that unicorn buck, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And so this is something for you guys to think about too when we kind of go for the play-by-play. We didn't plan on hunting over there, but we scoped them out from the road, and we're like, the heck with it. Let's chance it. Let's go in there and see if we can sneak up on this herd and get a shot at something.
Because every morning they were coming down into public land.
Yeah.
It's just they were coming a little bit before shooting light where we couldn't get a shot off.
Yeah, they're a little bit out of range, but we could tell that they were on public land. They were kind of hunkered up in the mountain, and we went after them. We had the wind in our favor, and we just took it inch by inch at times, and we literally spent the whole day creeping in on these elk, but we made it happen, and we were up there. We got within I don't know, it was like 150 yards or something
we
like
army crawled for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because we had to wait until they were looking down, and then we shuffled up there. And it was only 3/4 of a mile. It wasn't far, but it took at least 2 or 3 hours to get up there.
Yeah, but it just goes to show, if you take your time, you have the wind in your favor, you don't rush it, and you just kind of hang out and just go inch by inch at times, you can get up on these elk or mule deer or even a whitetail. But you really got to make sure that wind is in your favor.
Yeah.
Take your time. Don't make any sudden movements. That was the key.
Yeah.
Because they were literally bedded up on a mountainside, facing down right at us.
Yeah.
And we were literally walking at them. But I think the key really was no sudden movements. We went as slow as possible and army crawled for like half the way.
Oh, and we used those ridges and those draws as cover, which was huge.
Yeah, once we got up there a little bit closer, that's for sure.
Just using the landscape that you have and not, like you said, not pushing it. We were able to, once we got on the other side of that ridge, we could walk right up there, and just taking our time with it. And it was a lot more elk up there. I mean, once we got up there, they were everywhere.
Oh, they were everywhere. That was a pretty awesome adrenaline rush. My heart was just beating through my chest. And there, if I remember right, there was a really good bull, and then there was probably 10 bulls on that whole mountainside, but the one section that we were in, there was like probably 3 bulls.
Yeah.
But there was a really big one in there.
Yeah.
We just couldn't get to him because there were so many elk.
Yeah, and he was a little bit higher up. I don't know if he was on public or private, but we saw him a couple times, and he was a nice 5x5, if not a 6x6.
Oh yeah, he was all of a 6x6 for sure. Yeah,
he was a nice looking bull.
Yep. The passion for hunting versus fishing. So I kind of want to get into this because brotherly love, Colton and I have kind of gone out west hunting together. We share the love for the outdoors, but he is diehard fisherman.
Oh, God.
Just love the fishing.
Yep.
And I'm a diehard hunting, which is, it's okay. It's awesome.
Yep.
But at first, for the first couple of years, him and I butt heads a little bit because I didn't understand. I was like, Colton, why are you getting into this? But now as time kind of progresses, I completely understand it. We're just a little bit different. We're brothers. But so I think that's a great point for other people out there. If you really got to pick and choose your hunting buddies, some of them aren't going to be a diehard hunter and really get into it. They might get into fishing or something else. And you just got to kind of realize that, accept it, and embrace it.
Yep.
And come to a common ground and realize, okay, what's going to make this hunt fun and enjoyable? That's what it's all about. Yep. It's not about the kill of the game or anything like that, but it's out there enjoying it with your brothers, your friends, your family, and those hunting stories that we bring back that we're telling to this day.
Yeah, you can't replace that.
Yeah, it's irreplaceable for sure.
Well, it's funny you said that because, we all have, for me, I got one buddy that I know will fish with me any day of the week.
Right.
Everyone's got someone. You got your buddies that will go out to Montana on a whimsy with you and go chase bulls in negative 10 degrees 6 miles out, and I won't do that. I'm sorry.
Yep, that's for sure.
That won't be me. But, then there's some areas where, I love Western South Dakota hunting. That's always fun. The Montana ones are fun, and I think the biggest thing I've learned is just, the getting in shape aspect makes it a lot more fun. When we went for the unicorn bowl, I was in phenomenal shape that time. And even you commented on it, how I wasn't losing breath at all. And
you're kicking my butt up the hill.
But, that was what made it, that was an awakening for me, too, because just, remember the first year I went out there, I think I was running 6 miles 3 times a week. I thought I'd be good to go, and I still got my butt kicked.
Yeah.
And I did some research, whether it was, listening to Cameron Haynes or, the Mountain Tough workout, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was really, you need to focus on endurance, the incline treadmill. 60 minutes of that, 15% incline, 3 miles an hour was kind of my staple.
Right.
And then doing Stairmaster for 45 minutes to an hour, 10 speed, but doing all that with a pack on of 40 pounds. And that's what really did it for me. Just like the calves, you brought it up right away, when we went out there, it's your calves get torn apart out here.
Oh yeah.
And that's
calves
a
in your
huge
feet.
thing.
Yep.
Or then having good boots, it's a big part of it. But just the physical shape. Even this year, I'm starting to want to do more farmer's walks. That's not something that I kind of lacked on another year too. I could tell, my leg strength wasn't there, but my endurance was.
Yeah, for sure.
But that is one thing that makes definitely elk hunting more enjoyable is when you're in shape for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's part of the reason why I do like mule deer more. Is just because it is easier. Not gonna lie, I like,
and that's okay.
I like that aspect, but I'm also, it goes both ways. You know, and I understand now that I am older. Like, you go on the fishing trips with me, I go on the hunting trips. It's a give and take thing, you know, for sure. And I'll make you walk 100 yards to go ice fish, and you'll make me walk 10 miles to find nothing. So I don't know if it's an equal trade, but we make it work.
Right. You have yet to hunt with our llamas, though.
I have, yeah. So that'll be hopefully easier and interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really don't have to carry anything. The llamas will pretty much carry everything.
Yeah. That'll be nice, you know, having that base camp and spending some time out there and enjoying it. Yeah. Like the pack in, pack out stuff's fine, but yeah, it gets to be long days when you're doing 12 miles a day of hiking.
Yeah. It's a complete different kind of dedication. You have to have your mental state dialed in. It's all or nothing once you get past mile marker 5 or whatever it is. I mean, you're back there and you're not getting back except for on your 2 feet.
Yeah.
Unless you're getting a helicopter, but that's going to be an expensive trip.
Yeah. And then, you know, you start to factor in, you may see a herd another 5 miles away, but it's like, God, now we're going to be 15, 20 miles out.
Yep.
And then it kind of hits like, all right, is packing this out realistic right now?
Right.
You know, if you're already beat from hunting for 3 days, you're probably not even going to be able to make it out. You're going to waste a lot of meat.
So I got a very funny story to tell.
Yep.
It stems around some of this, but we went in 3+ miles, and we were sitting there glassing.
Oh, yeah.
We found some elk, and you and I had that conversation. We're like, okay, now's the time. Do we go after them or do we not? So we already went in 3 miles, but they were another probably 3 miles the other way. So round trip, it would have been. They were up. And they were up. Yeah, they were way up there. Could have we gotten up there? Yeah, probably not in time. It would have been real close. Yep. But as we were glassing and sitting there, I was laying down and I happened to kick my bear spray clip out.
The safety clip, yeah.
I kicked that safety clip out, and then I rolled over again, and it shot up right in my eyes. I got sprayed with bear mace, and I literally thought I was going to die. Like, I didn't know what to do. We were 3 miles into the mountains, and I'm like, I can't see. I can't think. My eyes are like watering, and I still can't see. And
well, I remember just because I've been, you know, in my line of work, I've been pepper sprayed. And it's kind of funny because as soon as I heard that spray, I knew what happened. Like, it was just instant trauma for me. And I look over, and I'm like, oh, God. And you handled it a lot better than I did because I have a thing with my eyes and I hate stuff in there. But yeah, because I was thinking about that. And, you know, when I just told him, like, you just got to get air in them, rinse them out, and hold them open. And you cleared up pretty quick.
Yeah. Thank goodness you were with me because I was panicking. I was freaking out. And I was like, Colton, I can't see. I don't know what to do. And you're like, just hold your eye open in front of the wind. And thank goodness we had a strong wind because that was the ticket to clearing that up.
And it's easy to panic when you have that stuff in your face, on your eyes. It makes you hyperventilate. It's a nightmare. But yeah, I was like, good thing we didn't go another 4 miles up there.
Right.
But yeah, that sound, I'm like, oh God, I know exactly what happened on that one.
Yeah, that was a good story to come back on and talk about. A couple questions I got before we end this podcast. For you. What's your favorite piece of equipment? Out in the mountains.
Out in the mountains.
Or even mule deer hunting.
And this is me being a little bit of a brand biased guy, but I will say my Sitka Jetstream jacket.
Yeah.
That is my go-to staple. I talk
it's
that
lightweight
all the time. It's windproof. It's water repellent. It's fleece interior. And I wear that. I've worn up on the Rainy River fishing in 30 degrees. I've worn it out in Montana. I've worn it in South Dakota. I wear it like all the time.
Yep.
And that is one jacket that, you know, it's just, I advertise it to everybody. You know, and I'm not a brand loyalist. I have everything, every single brand, you know. But like that jacket is a go-to for me.
Yeah. For sure.
That one and just the glass. Like, you need good glass.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I remember we've bought cheap stuff from Walmart.
We sure have.
Tesco, I think they were binos, but spending the money on a good pair of binos, a good rangefinder, that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't really know what you're hunting until you get up close enough, and then by that time, most of the time, they're gone.
And you know, the difference between cheap and good glass could be being able to tell if this is a legal or not bull or buck.
Do you
which is
want to
huge.
hike 3+ miles to go after this thing, or are you going to sit
Exactly.
there
Or
and wait
God
for
forbid
something
you take
else?
a shot and then you realize, God, this wasn't a legal buck or legal bull, you know, but if you have good glass so you can see it, it's a
Right.
huge difference. Or one thing I've noticed too that works really well with some other people I hunt with is one guy having, you know, maybe like an 8x40 and the next guy having a 12x50.
Oh yeah, for
You
sure.
know,
Switching
kinda
up a little
offset
bit.
it.
Yeah.
So one guy can see further away, another guy can see closer. That's one thing
Yeah.
that's kind of worked well for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that jet stream jacket, it's a go-to.
What is an absolute must for, you have to have it for a mountain hunt in your eyes?
In my eyes, just, you know, the physical fitness, I think, is the biggest thing.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Talking to a lot of people that want to get into this, they don't understand, like, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I don't care if you can squat 500 pounds and bench 300. You're
Yep.
going to die up in the mountains.
Yeah,
You know, and
that's for sure.
It's a whole different mindset, you know, and I think it's something that comes with ages. You know, you're not working out for ego anymore. You're working out to make it through an elk hunt, or depending what your job is too. You know, it doesn't matter if you're a firefighter or police officer. Like, your job and your fitness kind of, you know, correlate that way.
Yeah,
You know,
for
they
sure.
represent each other for sure. So like, if you're a huge elk hunter, so your workouts are going to revolve around being able to stay in shape from the mountains, which is huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like I said, that incline treadmill, the Stairmasters are huge. The farmer's walks, you know, you don't need to be doing barbell bench every day. It's not going to get you anywhere, and it's just going to get your shoulders hurt. That's what we've learned, I think.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest thing. And just that mindset of like, at some point, this hunt's going to suck. Like, I don't care where you're at, it's going to suck. You know, it's either going to be 40-mile-an-hour winds, or it's going to be -10 and snowing, or your brother's going to bring out some cold chicken fillets, you know. Speaking of that, funny story, we're out in South Dakota one year. I think I had a tag, because I shot that. That was my first buck. Because we put it on top of the escape on the way home. And we're out glassing this area. I think it was the night before opener. We're just checking it out, scouting it. And we're hungry as can be. We just got in from Rochester. And we're sitting there, and Cody goes, yeah, you know, I got some food for you. I'm like, all right, sounds good, you know. And he whips out these cold, unflavored, slimy chicken breasts. No seasoning, and he just eats it right in front of me, and I can see the slime. I think they're cooked. And I about threw up everywhere.
They were pre-cooked, just chicken strips that you can eat.
It was raunchy. Just so gross. You know, and that's, I'm more of a peanut butter jelly guy for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. What big hunts do you got coming up this year or in the next year or two that you want to take on?
So I drew tags for South Dakota archery. I haven't shot a bow up until this last week in probably 4 years. I didn't even have a bow, so I had to go up Shields and pick up a new one.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. I don't know if we're going to go back to the same area or not. I might have to play with that a little bit. Still trying to get points out there. Black Hills, we all have a ton of points. One of these years we just got to put in and do
Oh,
that.
yeah, that's for sure.
And then, hopefully if the body's holding up, go out to Wyoming with you and go chase them around out there.
Chase some elk around on a general unit tag.
Yep, that's kind of the plan there. And
Yep.
changing up my workouts a little bit to kind of get in better shape for that. So I think we should be squared away.
Yep. What's your go-to hunting tactic to use when you're out there?
I don't like to rush stuff. I think that's where me and you kind of vary sometimes.
Yeah.
Where you'll just keep going until you find them.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, I'm more, you know, we're going to sit around this food. We're going to sit around this water. We're
Yeah.
going to know they're going to come up here.
Yeah,
You know?
that's for sure.
Let's not stray away from what works. You know, there's old saying, don't go looking for elk. Don't go looking for deer when you have deer or elk here.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big thing. And I'm a firm believer in that. And that's just kind of my go-to. Hunt the food sources, hunt the water.
Yeah, for sure.
And just be patient. You know, you're going to have long days, and that's just how it's going to go.
And even when we were young hunting out in the mountains, one big go-to that we've always done is we would just drive around and scout from the road, use our glass. And I think that's really from hunting our grandpa's farm and getting up on those grain bins and really just kind of, okay, we figured out we can cover more ground in the road from the vehicle and use our glass and then go in after them.
Absolutely. Because otherwise, you could be hiking up there and there might not be anything on that mountainside.
Yeah.
You know, and just at some point, you know, this is weather depending. But at some point, those elk are going to go down low and come up high.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, and that's almost a guarantee.
Yep.
You know, depending on the temperature. But the food sources too, but you're going to see them go up and down. And if you're doing that from the road, you can see where they're going. You can see probably where they're bedding even. And then you can do some e-scout and figure out the most efficient way to get up there.
Yep.
Now, it's no guarantee they're going to be up there, but it's a better shot than just walking around and following game trails.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I talk to a lot of buddies who go out west, they don't even see anything. And it's kind of, I feel a little guilty personally because I don't think we've ever gone hunting out west and not seen game.
We always turn up game.
Yeah. And I think it's more that mentality, a lot of the e-scouting combined with the road glassing and just picking and choosing, the strategy of where we're going to go is huge.
Yep, for sure.
But, I feel bad. My buddies are like, yeah, we didn't see anything out here. And it's like, right. Then I just kind of shut my mouth because I'm like, I'm not going to brag, but, that doesn't really happen. So. Not saying we get one all the time, but we always see something.
Yeah, we're always into the animals no matter what we're hunting typically. What was your favorite fishing excursion or fishing trip, either was this year or last year? What made it enjoyable?
So this year we did a cool trip, my girlfriend and I. We went up to the Boundary Waters for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I've never been to Grand Marais. It's the awesome town if you ever get a chance. Anyone can ever go up there. It feels like you're in a different world.
Nice.
It's just... From here, it's about a 5.5 hour drive, but you feel like you're on the East Coast, like you're out in Maine.
Okay.
It's very much like that. And it was crazy because Lake Superior was just calm. Water is like glass every single day.
Right.
And, you don't realize how big of a body of water that is until you see it. It's like, this thing's massive. But we went up to Seagull Lake. We did a guide, and that was pretty cool. So we got into the lake trout really good, and we went right on the Canadian border pretty much. I think only half the lake was motor accessible. The rest you had to be in canoe. And it was just an insane day. We limited on lake trout in the first 2 hours. Mm-hmm. She likes to fish, but she's not as big as I am, obviously. But, she loved it. It was just nonstop. Otherwise, I would say the Rainy River. I went up there for my cousins, not this last year, but the one before that.
Yeah.
And, the Rainy River run in spring is world renowned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone from In Death Outdoors to, Northland sponsored fishermen, they're all up there. And it was insane.
I bet.
You have to wait until the ice melts to get on the water. And each landing, I kid you not, the lines are probably 3-4 miles back. There's 300 crazy. Boats per thing.
Wow.
And it's just nuts because they would bite a bear hook. You just throw it out there, sit and wait, and you're just getting smacked by high 20-inch walleye all day. And
that's some action.
The coolest part of that story was there's massive sturgeon in the Rainy River.
Okay.
I
didn't know that.
Huge. And they go into Lake of the Woods. And so you could stay up late and sturgeon fish, which we brought some musky rods for that. And you just throw a bunch of earthworms on a circle hook. And we did some sturgeon fishing late one night, and we ended up getting into a 63-inch sturgeon at like 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, wow.
And it was about a 30-minute fight. My cousin landed it.
Oh,
and
I remember seeing pictures of it.
Yeah, it comes up to the surface, and I'm like, oh, my God, how are we going to get this thing into the boat? But it was just the coolest fish, and the best part about that fish is that it was tagged. So that fish has been around since, I think, 1915.
Holy cow, that's crazy.
Just like this fish was around in World War II.
Yeah. Yeah,
for
sure.
And it's just, think all the things that fish saw.
Yeah, right.
So that was pretty sweet. I think he got something mailed from the DNR, but that was a cool trip. And it was cold, though, and that was when I was wearing the Jetstream jacket.
Nice.
It was 30 degrees and 30-mile-an-hour winds, and we were just hugged behind my windshield, and it was cold, but it was a cool experience, one that I will hopefully get to do again here.
Nice. Yeah, I've never been up to the Boundary Waters. I've always wanted to. Did you guys do some camping up there, or just kind of do a lot more?
A lot more driving around, yeah.
Yep.
This next year, I want to do some camping up there. I have a lot of coworkers that go up there every year. It's on my bucket list. I think because, I'm not experienced camper as you are. You'd probably fit in a lot better up there than I would. I kind of know what to do, but not crazy amount.
Right.
And I think next year I would like to, maybe just do a couple portages and not go super far.
Yeah, for sure.
And then just chill for a few days.
Isn't the fishing great, like anywhere?
Everywhere, pretty much. Yeah. You're going to, it's just second to none, no matter pretty much where you are up there. But, then just learning it, our guide told us is crazy. There's one dude who goes in the Boundary Waters when snow melts and, comes out twice the whole entire year after that.
Oh, wow.
And they call him like No Shoes Joe or something like that. Wow. But he just lives out there the whole entire summer.
That's crazy, man.
I'm like, could you imagine being that, just having that knowledge and those skill set too to survive out there for
for sure. I'm sure he loves it too.
Yeah, and it's a different way of life, but yeah, camping up there is in the next bucket list for sure.
Absolutely. Last question I got. Would you rather hunt solo or with a team?
With a team. It's really cool, from you teaching me stuff, and now that I take buddies that I haven't gone and shown them stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and I maybe know 2% of there is about hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very small amount. But if I can show that guy 0.25%, you know, it's worth it for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, taking my buddy out there the first time, and, you know, we both had takes and just kind of showing him how things work. It was, and I tell people, once you hunt out west, you get hooked on it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, but hunting in Minnesota doesn't compare after that.
No,
The stock and spock mentality is so fun. You just never know what's around there.
yeah.
And it's just seeing there, watching all these herds and all other game too, you know. Like we've seen some cool stuff when we've been out hunting that's
Yes,
not,
yeah.
I mean, I almost sat on a porcupine one year. Like it's cool. It's a different,
Yeah.
and it's just not here too, which is probably part of the coolness, you know. It's just different. It's something you look forward to, and it's like cool. You know, you get to go hard hunting for 2-3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it kind of gets you to chill, which is kind of nice.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. You look forward to it the whole year,
Yep.
and then it's a lot of work, but it's satisfying work at the end of it. And then, like you said, the rest of the year you get to chill.
Oh, and it's very rewarding, you know, and then you get all that meat to come home to. And it's like now after eating all the wild game that we have, I have a hard time just buying beef at a supermarket.
Yeah,
You know, because like I don't know where this came from. And I try to get at least my beef from a local farmer at this point. Because I'm like, at least then you have an idea. But it's like,
Yep.
when we're able to go up on top of a mountain, harvest our own animal, and we can eat that for the whole year, it's a different, like I know where this came from. I know what it's eating. I know how it was handled. Like it's just a different mindset. And it's a very self-fulfilling thing too. It's just makes you really appreciative of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know the last 5 years I haven't ate beef, or it's all been elk or venison.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, which is a huge difference.
Sweet, man. You got anything else you want to add?
No, I think that was it.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Loved having you on here. We'll have to do it again and maybe talk about another hunt that we have in this year or next year, or
Yeah.
some fishing trips or whatever it is.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Appreciate you being on here.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Colton.
That's a wrap for this episode. Remember to stretch those legs, scout new trails, and share Join Team Hunt with a friend. The next story with that ultimate team is just around the bend.